Welcome to the 3 over 2. I'm Joe Fortunato, and I'm joined here with Chris Greed.
How you doing today?
Good, man. Exciting show. Hopping right into the NBA season. First week of games. We got to see a good amount. I don't know about you. I watched a decent amount.
Yeah, I got to see I think about probably three full games about, and then maybe I saw highlights for all of them, and then maybe five, six I tuned into for a little bit.
Yeah. I saw a lot of highlights, especially that Knicks game, Celtics game. We're gonna get into all that later, but jumping into like kind of what this episode is gonna be about is just it's gonna be a lot of overreactions, and you know what? That's okay. We're NBA fans. We're excited. The season's back. I'm just thrilled.
I am too, and I kept catching myself. I keep thinking players, I saw a few players go off in just the one game, and I thought, wow, they're doing amazing. I'm gonna expect this all season, and then a few other players did awful, and that's just my opinion right now on them after one game. So that's kind of what we're gonna go over a lot. We're gonna recap the games by saying, is it an overreaction, or do we expect more of this to come throughout the rest of the season?
Right.
So I'll give you one to start off. LaMelo Ball, he absolutely went off his first game.
Yeah.
Dropped 31 points, 9 rebounds, 7 assists. Was this just a one-game wonder, or is this something we can expect all year from LaMelo?
I want to say it's something we're going to see all year. I like LaMelo a lot, and something I don't think we really considered this time last week was a lot of the times the most improved player is a second-year player. And Anthony Edwards, I know you said he's one of your candidates for most improved, but LaMelo Ball might be there.
Yeah, it's a good point. I didn't think of him in that category, but he definitely could be.
And it's only because he was so good his rookie year. That's kind of why we didn't think about him, I'm sure.
Yeah, true. I mean, you never think of a really already established good player as most improved, but
Yeah.
what we saw in one game, he's proven that I'm going to improve even more.
Yeah, and he balled. He pulled up from three very comfortably with that flat-footed jump shot. He did everything. And that run that they had, I believe it was like a 26-2 run or something like that. They ran with that game. The Indiana looked bad in the second half. They all looked gassed. And that I think that was a common theme throughout the games was a lot of players were gassed.
I do agree with that. A lot of players didn't look like their normal selves, but other ones just came out playing and having fun. And that's one thing I love when watching LaMelo, and I can't wait to watch more Hornets games. He was out there having fun. That team they all play hard, and they all play like they're having fun. You don't see that too much with other teams. They're not as serious as the other teams, but at the same time, they're like, I don't want to say they're not as serious, but they're super focused, and they're out there just having fun. And it's good to see a young team like the Hornets.
Yeah, they're entertaining. They kind of remind me of the Brooklyn Nets a couple years ago.
I like that comparison.
I mean, obviously, a little bit more upside than that team. That team kind of had some older players, but still pretty entertaining.
Definitely.
Moving on, the first thing I want to talk about is Jason Tatum versus RJ Barrett. Tatum shot 7 for 30.
That's crazy.
And
I
yet,
didn't realize it was that bad.
and we kind of want to highlight that, but at the same time, Jason Tatum's gonna be great. He's gonna have a great year. He's Jason Tatum. Dude's a baller. But RJ Barrett, I saw a stat when RJ Barrett was guarding Tatum. Tatum shot like 2 for 15. It's pretty crazy.
That is. I guess RJ Barrett took a pretty big leap defensively this year because I knew he was a decent defender. I didn't realize he's been this good, and going against one of the, I'd say, top 10 scorers in the NBA
For
to
sure.
completely shut him down like that. I'm really impressed with RJ Barrett and how he played.
Yeah, and it'll be something we'll be able to find out throughout the season, whether it was RJ Barrett's an elite defender now or Jason Tatum was just trying to get his legs back under him, trying to get in shape, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't overreact to Tatum having one bad game.
Nah.
He's not going to be like this all year.
No shit.
And especially with high volume scorers like that shoot a lot of shots, they're going to have these games where they just run into a good defender and they can't ever find their stroke throughout the game.
Yeah.
I think that's just one of these games for Tatum.
And that could bring us into Steph Curry's first game.
Yeah, he didn't shoot that good,
No,
but
not at all.
he contributed in every other way possible.
Yeah, he had a triple-double. First one since 2016.
That's crazy. And then he follows it up the next game, because he's one of the few players that have played 2 games so far.
Yeah.
Drops 45 last night.
Went, what was it, 9 for 9 in the first quarter, 8 for 8. He didn't miss in the first quarter. He had 25 points.
That's crazy.
He was 5 for 5 from 3.
And he could have scored more too if he played the whole game.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And it was actually kind of crazy because the Clips came back. They made it a game, and then Steph Curry just went crazy in the fourth again and put him away.
Yeah, definitely. I love what I'm seeing out of Curry. It's just amazing watching him run the whole team, and he's starting to get even better at it. Like we said last year, people weren't sure what to expect with him without Klay out there and without Kevin Durant out on the court. And it took a little bit of time, but he still was the scoring leader in the NBA last year, and he's carrying it into this year, looking even better.
And the craziest part about all of this is the most Curry's ever had the keys to the offense. As crazy as that sounds. Like, you think about when they went 73-9, obviously before Durant joined. They had 2 very good seasons, had the most wins in season all time. But this team is all Steph Curry. Like, he can shoot the ball 45 times if they want. And if he wants. It's pretty crazy to think that now is the time he has the keys.
And I love watching it happen. It's so fun to watch.
Yeah, I agree.
That's the one player I'd be okay with if he shot that many times a game.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, if Steph Curry misses a 3, he's going to make the next one. You know what I mean? Like, statistically.
Yeah.
40% three-point shooter. So, I mean, the dude could shoot.
Yeah, looking
obviously.
At it, if you look at it analytically, you want him to shoot as many times as possible. Even if he is cold and not having a good game, it's better than anyone else shooting the ball.
Right. Greatest three-point shooter of all time.
I have another one that was kind of an overreaction from the first game. Luka played awful yesterday. Mavericks in general just looked really bad offensively. Luka shot 6 for 16, only had 17 points. And I know Porzingis only had 12 points. They just looked terrible on offense. What do you think of that game?
Yeah, so I kind of want to touch on that game as a whole. I told you before the show that I had something I wanted to bring up, and it was the Mavericks game. And for those of you who don't know, me and Chris live together, so we try not to talk too much basketball together because we want this podcast to be very genuine, our genuine opinions. We want to surprise each other with some stuff. But with that game, I don't know about, I don't want to overreact to Jason Kidd, but the main thing he was saying when he got to Dallas is he needs to get Kristaps involved. But watching that game, watching John Collins, who's severely shorter than Kristaps, I think 7'3" and then 6'8", 6'9", he was just getting bodied. John Collins is so much stronger than him. So it just kind of makes me question, what do you do with Kristaps on the floor?
It's hard to say, and I feel like Kristaps doesn't know what to do on the floor either.
Exactly. He looks lost. He's 7'3", so the initial thing you'd say is go grab rebounds, go dunk, go maybe hit a mid-range shot, maybe.
He can't really do much of that.
But he can't body those guys. Like, John Collins is significantly stronger than Kristaps, and John Collins isn't known for his strength.
Yeah, he's not Zion.
He's known for his athletic ability, like jumping, but he was getting bodied.
Yeah, that game concerned me a lot, just seeing how lost Kristaps was, and it seems like bringing the new coach doesn't make a difference. They still don't know what to do with Kristaps, and that team's so Luka-centric. Yeah. They need another star there, and I just hate watching Luka play on his own, trying to force everything, because he was sloppy yesterday. It's not the normal Luka.
And it might be the same thing as the other stars around the league, like Tatum. Like, just trying to get their feet back under them, basketball shape. I know the Wizards, I don't know if you know this, but the Wizards don't play Rui Hachimura right now because he's not in basketball shape.
Interesting.
He went to Japan for the summer, came back, and he's just not in basketball shape. And it's okay. They're not, angry at him for it or disappointed, but they're just trying to get him right, make sure he's 100%, then they're going to put him out there. But I thought that was pretty interesting that they did that.
I'd say that's a good idea, too. It's a long season. I wouldn't risk it all just for 1 or 2 games. Make sure everybody's ready before they play.
Yeah, agreed. And you want to give up one here?
Yeah, I'll say another one. So I watched a little bit of this game on the first night. It was Evan Mobley with the Cavs.
Oh, yeah.
So far, might be the most impressive rookie to me. He had 16 points, 9 rebounds, and then 6 assists.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I wasn't expecting him to get the assists like that. Started at power forward, which I kind of like the fit of him and Jared Allen there.
Yeah, agreed.
I was impressed with Evan Mobley. I wasn't expecting this for the first game.
Yeah, and like you said, I like that match of Mobley and Jared Allen. Like great shot blocker, and then a nice offensive big. That's kind of what you want your 4 or 5. I mean, you can alter them, but Mobley's not a bad defender himself either. He moves his feet very well for 7 foot. It's pretty crazy.
He's so athletic and just skilled at everything. I loved what I saw out of him. I wasn't expecting that. He really impressed me.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. Something else, speaking of impressive, Harrison Barnes.
Yeah.
Harrison Barnes went crazy. I'd never seen that out of Harrison Barnes. That's his career high. And, yeah, he just looked good.
Yeah, I think
Kings team's going to be very bad, though.
37 points, was it, from Harrison? I'm pretty sure it was around there, but that was one of the most impressive.
36.
36.
Right there. Yeah.
I was close. Yeah, Harrison Barnes, he can be like electric like that, where he can have these random games where he goes off.
Yeah.
And he has athleticism in that corner 3 sometimes. When it's on
It's
for
beautiful,
him.
too. Yeah, it's a good shot. And it's pretty funny. That team's very, like, okay, if this guy gets the hot hand, we're giving him the ball. Like De'Aaron Fox. Like, we've seen countless times where De'Aaron Fox starts the game hot and then just keeps going. And they do that with Buddy Hield when Buddy Hield gets hot, and now Harrison Barnes. They just like finding hot hands, and that is the right thing to do sometimes. And it proved to work because they beat Portland.
Yeah, that was an impressive win for the Kings all around. And I love seeing Harrison Barnes play and play good, especially in the later part of his career, to still have such a big impact.
Yeah, so what do you think about the Cavs playing Markkanen? Markkanen started. He started their 3 over Isaiah Okoro.
It's such a big lineup. It's weird.
It doesn't work.
No.
He's way too big to be out on the perimeter. And I wouldn't be saying that if he knew how to shuffle his feet and have some ability to move laterally.
He reminded me, I know we talked about this in our other episode, how he's like a Porzingis, where he's got the size, kind of has some offensive skill, but just doesn't fit out on the basketball court. And that's what he's like. And then they're trying to put him at the 3, which is not where he belongs. I think it was a bad signing to begin with. I thought the Cavs had an awful offseason in that regards. Like, I can maybe see them signing Markkanen if they put him at the 4 and then put Mobley at center. But you signed Jared Allen, too. So now you didn't need both of them.
Yeah, and we kind of said that the first episode, where we were just kind of like, what are they doing? We've seen countless off seasons, but this Cavs team had to have had the most confusing off season I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was so confusing.
Like, I don't know what direction they're trying to go.
And I love the Mobley pick.
Yeah, but especially in a league that's ran by guards right now, and small forwards, but just signing like 5 centers, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But maybe it's all part of the plan. Maybe Jared Allen and Evan Mobley are just 2 dominant forces. Maybe Sexton and Garland could take a leap. I don't think they'd make the play-in.
No, I still don't think they do.
I think they're one of the worst teams in basketball for sure.
Yeah, and they need to buy out Kevin Love.
Yeah, let him go.
I saw he came off the bench, only had 4 points. That's just sad now. And
yeah, it's like ruining his career. He's done.
Nobody talks about him either anymore.
Yeah.
Like, he's one of those guys, I wouldn't mind seeing him chase a ring or get bought out and go to a team.
Yeah, I think
he'd fit anywhere.
I think he'd be a little bit more efficient than, like, Blake Griffin. Like, I'm just comparing that because they're both vets that are kind of ring chasing at this point. Blake's a power forward as well. I think he'd be better than a Blake Griffin on most teams.
I could see it, yeah.
So moving on, what about Tyrese Maxey stepping up for Philly?
I'd love to see it. I wasn't sure if he was going to start at first. I thought they might run with Shake just so that they could have a little more playmaking. Maxey's a playmaker in the sense that he creates plays for himself, scoring, but not really for the rest of the team. And Maxey went out there. He looked pretty good, was able to shoot the ball pretty well, was able to move it around more than I thought, too. The Sixers all around looked balanced that game. Without a true point guard, they were still able to spread the ball around and give everyone their looks.
Well, Shake didn't even play.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know if he
true.
was hurt or what the deal was. I kind of didn't notice until the fourth quarter, only because he wasn't a big part of our playoff run at all. So I was just kind of like not even thinking about Shake Milton. But Danny Green, on the other hand, looked bad.
He did.
Danny Green looked really bad. He looked like, do you remember like all the memes about Tony Snell?
Yeah,
Right, him
just
just
out on
running
the court
around.
doing
Yeah,
nothing.
just running around. Danny Green had zero of everything except for like fouls. It looked really bad. It was hard to see because Danny Green, he's very efficient with everything. He's very um, efficient on defense as well, but nothing. And he only played 19 minutes. They just took him out. They're like, Cork Maz is hot, give him the ball, and that's it.
Well, that's one thing that some people might overreact to is Furkan going off for the Sixers in that
Sixers
game.
always do this. Remember in Summer League a couple years ago, Furkan had like 40? And everyone
Yeah,
was like, oh man, that's our starting two right there.
Furkan had a playoff game this year. I forget when it was, like which game it was, but he had a playoff game where he had about 5 threes and had 20 points.
I
Just
think it was Atlanta.
it was one of the Atlanta games.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember which game in the series it was. But Furkan does this. He's streaky, and then in like 2 games he's gonna have an awful game where everyone's gonna say, "Why are we playing him?" and
Yeah.
people are gonna complain.
So to answer, I think it's really overreacting.
Yeah, that's an overreaction for that one.
As much as I want to see Furkan go out there and average 20 points a game, it ain't happening.
So I have a good one now for an overreaction, possibly. Kicking it back to the first slate of games, the Lakers with Russell Westbrook. How do you
Yeah.
feel about that? Westbrook played awful in that game. Just looked like he didn't fit at all in the court. Do you think they'll figure it out, or do you think this is something we should be concerned about?
No, I do think they'll figure it out. After the first game, like after watching it, I just get so frustrated sometimes watching Russ settle for shots. He settles for that mid-range jumper that, yeah, like in his prime, he was knocking that down every time. He was taking threes that he shouldn't have taken, like contested corner threes. It just didn't really make sense to me. But at the end of the day, this team has 3 players that want to win, know how to win, and just turn it on like a switch in the playoffs. So I can imagine them being a little disappointing in the regular season, but I think once playoffs roll around, the intensity in LA is just going to be insane.
Are you considering Russ in those 3 players?
I am.
Okay, I wasn't sure if you were gonna
I
go
mean,
like a different route with
obviously,
one of their vets.
Yeah, obviously the vets with Dwight and Melo and those guys, Rondo, they know what it takes to win.
Rondo didn't impress me in that first game. He looked bad.
Rondo
out
looked
there.
really bad. And what looked worse than any of the players is the spacing.
They don't have enough shooters on that team. Ken Bazemore's their best shooter. I just they got Russ for a steal. I thought that was a great trade, and I thought it was a win-win for both teams in that deal.
Yeah.
Because you get a
100%.
great player out of it. You get the best player in the deal on your side when you're the Lakers, but he doesn't fit the Lakers.
Yeah, he doesn't. And I could see them going out and grabbing like a Buddy Hield by trade deadline.
That would be a good fit for them.
They need it to, like you said, they just need a shooter. And I think once they get a shooter that can shoot the ball, if they get a 40% 3-point shooter that shoots the ball 5 times a game from 3, I think they're okay.
LeBron looked like their best shooter out there.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to see. LeBron started off just like Curry
LeBron
did
played
last
great.
night. Yeah, hot.
He had a good game.
Yeah, he was on fire.
But as for just like a catch and shoot guy, they're the only one they really had that's just like a pure catch and shoot guy was Kent Bazemore, and I don't know, that shouldn't be your number one shooter. That's a little concerning for me.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of want to circle back to the Boston game. Talk about Jaylen Brown a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude.
Jaylen, he went off.
Yeah, he looked really good too. He was shooting the ball really well.
I think he can do this. I think he's one of those guys that can drop 40 at any given time. I wouldn't say this is an overreaction because, yeah, he's not going to do this every game, but Jaylen Brown, when needed, can go off and can do this. He looked great defensively. He's just such a good, well-rounded player, and I love watching him play.
Yeah, my only criticism to Jaylen Brown after this game was just the fact in the fourth quarter he looked gassed. Gassed.
He did, yeah.
And it's okay. A lot of the stars were gassed. If not, everyone on the floor was gassed. Especially when you run into a second overtime game in the first in the first game of the season. First time you're getting back in NBA action. But down the stretch, it just seemed like Jaylen Brown was saying, like, hey, Jason, take these last couple shots. Like, I'm beat. Like, I don't want to shoot it. And, I mean, whether that was the right decision or not, 46 points in 46 minutes is insane and shows stamina. But it just seemed like down the stretch, whether it was by his design or not, they just gave it to Tatum, who did not have the hot hand.
Yeah, and I thought watching it, Jaylen Brown could have easily had more. He also missed some key free throws in the fourth quarter that would have just completely closed out the game. Fourth quarter and OT, he missed a couple free throws, which a player of his caliber, you don't expect to miss free throws. He's a good free throw shooter, and I just think that's him being gassed out there.
Yeah.
It was a long game, double OT game where they had to play a lot of minutes.
And no one was ready for that.
Yeah.
Both teams have some injuries, waiting on some players to get back, and they're just gassed. And it's all good. First game of the season. Is 46 points not in Jaylen Brown's realm later in the season? I don't know. He might get hot like that again. I think he's going to be a 25-point per game scorer like he was last year, though.
I think he will, too, and I think he's for sure an all-star lock.
Yeah. So I had one of my friends text in talking about the Lakers, and he said in his opinion that they do have shooters with Melo, Wayne Ellington, and statistically, yeah, I guess they're shooters, but I think Wayne Ellington at this point in his career is a little bit of a liability. I don't think he can do anything besides sit on the three-point line. He's old. He can't move. But Melo, I love Melo. Melo's the best mid-range shooter of all time. I mean, whatever the mid-range is worth nowadays, but Melo, he's one of those guys that, yeah, can get hot, but he's also one of those guys where it can be like, Melo, stop shooting the ball 500 times.
I think Melo, I don't really see him playing with the starting unit. I think he's just more of a bench unit guy with him. And the type of shooter I want the Lakers to get is someone like Wayne Ellington, but a lot better.
Yeah.
That can kind of sit outside on the three so that Russ and LeBron can kick it out to them and just shoots it at a super high volume. Shoots it, makes most of their shots, probably looking for at least 40% from
like a
three.
Joe Harris.
Yeah, they need a Joe Harris.
They won't get Joe Harris. No way Brooklyn would deal it to the people they might see in the finals, but
he's so underrated and valuable to that team.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about Joe Harris, but that could be a topic for another
time.
I
mean, he didn't have the best playoffs, but they do need like a Joe Harris type player.
Yeah.
I don't think Melo can really do that.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
He's a good mid-range, and he's good with the ball in his hands. He's not a catch-and-shoot guy, though.
I mean, he's kind of developed into one. I'd say so. Playing with Dame, playing way off the ball than normal. I mean, Melo was never on the ball, but, obviously when he was in New York, the ball was in Melo's hands. Even when he was in OKC, he got the ball in his hands pretty often. But in Portland, I think he learned how to sit in the corner, be patient, wait for the shot, and then pull it. That's just my take on it.
Yeah, I think he has improved as years going on, but overall, just this Lakers team, they don't fit that good yet. No. And I'm not saying that will be the case at the end of the year. I think they can figure it out. And everyone knows if one team could figure it out, it's going to be the team led by LeBron.
Yeah.
So hopefully they make the right moves and can figure this out because first game, LeBron looked great. Anthony Davis looked great. Nobody else on the Lakers really impressed me.
And the crazy part about the Lakers in general is I do think they're going to start the season rough. I did say last podcast that through the first 20 games, I think they're going to maybe win 10 or 11, if that, which is still a decent start. But the craziest part about that team to me is the fact that it's more glorifying LeBron James, but LeBron will make any system work. And he's the only player in NBA history where the system follows him. And I think we discussed that a little bit, but the chemistry is a little weird right now. It's going to get better with time. The shooting is a little weird right now. It's going to get better with time, I think. But any system ever has been on LeBron's teams have been ran through him. And I just think they'll figure it out and they'll be a 48, 50, low 50 win team.
I could see that. That's definitely possible. The only thing that concerns me, I hope Russ isn't the guy to ruin the LeBron system and try and command it too much, but LeBron's too big of a figure, and too powerful within the Lakers and NBA that I don't think he lets Russ take over that team and try and run things.
Yeah, I hear that. Um,
I got a couple more
yeah, go ahead, shoot.
overreactions to go for. So, one of the most impressive, I said Evan Mobley was the most impressive rookie, but there was one more that a lot of people don't even know who it is. Chris Durante on
Yeah,
I think I'm
the
saying
Pacers,
that
right?
on the Pacers, 27 points and 6 threes. I was looking him up before the podcast.
29.
It was 29 points.
No, 29 years old.
Oh, yeah, he's an old rookie. That was one thing I noticed. And also, when you look up his name, like just if you're listening to this, look it up on Google. He doesn't even pop up. It pops up with like some random dude's LinkedIn page and some other thing. He's not even the most famous Chris Durant, or I think that's how, it looks like Durant.
He's popping
with an
up for
A,
me.
but
It looks like Duarte to me.
Durant. Okay.
Duarte.
We don't know anything about this guy is basically what we're saying. And he just came in, started for the Pacers, hit 6 threes, absolutely went off, and really random story, but kind of cool. I have no clue if this is to expect. I really don't know anything about him. I just kind of wanted to throw his name out there because he definitely deserves a shout out. He went off in his first game.
Yeah, no, he's a baller. He's pretty cool to watch. He looked good shooting the ball as well. He hit 6 threes. I mean, hey, that's what they need. So if he could provide that, I don't think Pacers are going to be that good or that threatening to any of the top teams, but that's pretty cool for them to have.
Yeah, I agree.
When's the last time the Pacers have had an exciting rookie? I guess Paul George.
Maybe. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a while. They've drafted some bad draft picks, like TJ Leaf. It's pretty bad.
They're always in the late lottery or like just outside of the lottery.
They're always in that spot you don't want to be, like where you're not making playoffs, but you're not getting a top pick.
And I was trying to think of their team, their best players. Sabonis they didn't draft. Brogdon they didn't draft. They all came elsewhere.
They got Miles Turner.
Yeah, I guess Miles Turner was.
He's not
an exciting rookie though. He's
just kind of there.
He's a solid big, nothing special.
Yeah.
Another one that I had super impressed with this team after one game, the Heat.
Yeah, I was just about to bring that up.
In the first game, I thought Bam looked great on Giannis.
Yeah.
Bam impressed me. He was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year. I'd say he was probably the player of the game there. Jimmy Butler also had
Tyler Hero.
Yeah, Tyler Hero.
26 off the bench, I believe.
I forgot. Yeah, it was a lot.
That's my 6 man. Oh, that's not my 6 man of the year. Mine's Jordan Poole, isn't it?
I think he went Poole most improved.
I did, and then I went Hero 6 man of the year. Okay.
So you called it.
All right. We're standing strong after one game.
Yeah, they looked good.
It's a marathon, but we'll take the first game.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, the Heat are pretty scary. And a reason why they're really scary to me is they did all that to the defending champs without Kyle Lowry playing that good.
Yeah, I was about to bring that up.
That was pretty crazy. They were doing it with the guys who have been there.
Lowry had 5 points, 1 for 8 from the field. Just not a good game for him.
I think that's what he'll shoot a lot of games. Not necessarily 1 for 8, but more so 8 shot attempts. I don't think he takes more than 10, 15 throughout the season.
I could see that. He's definitely taken a step back when he goes there.
And Kyle Lowry's one of those guys where he'll just understand his role and run with it.
For sure. There's nothing you have to worry about with him. His stats are going to look way worse on the Heat.
Yeah.
But he's going to be a key contributor.
And may be able to make this team make a championship run.
I agree.
I think that's his main focus at this point in his career is to grab a ring number 2.
I think he's going to become super underrated this year because people are just going to look at the box scores and say, Kyle Lowry, he looks like he got significantly worse. Is he really helping this Heat team? But we all know what Kyle Lowry brings. He's just a smart player, plays great defense, does everything right that you want out of a player. And even if he shoots 1 for 8, he's still contributing. Kyle Lowry didn't have a great game, but I didn't fully watch most of this game. I wasn't able to see a lot of it. But I'm sure Kyle Lowry was out there still contributing, helping them out any way possible. And he's just a fun player to watch. Super smart player.
He's gritty.
Yeah, that's the word. I was looking for the right word. Gritty player. That describes Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what age Kyle Lowry is. He'll dive after the loose ball. He'll take a charge. He'll do the dirty work. And that's very valuable in this league.
Yeah. So I have about 2 more of these. I'll throw at you real quick. Morant dropped 37 points.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with Ja. He looks like when he jumps, it's just crazy. He goes flying, and you don't see that.
Yeah, and it's scary though. I
Oh
get
yeah,
so scared with the way he lands. We talked about that last episode, I believe. It's just scary, and I hope he continues to do it, but I don't want him to get hurt.
he doesn't need to do everything he does. Like it's unnecessary at points where he's doing these
Yeah,
chase down blocks and then
it's
running
okay
all the
though.
way up court catching an oop.
Yeah,
It's fun to watch,
it's kind of
but
a slippery slope because it's like I want to see him do that, but I want to make sure John Morant's sticking around for 15 years. You know what I mean?
yeah, he is one of those players. I don't know where he'll be 15 years from now.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned. He has the D Rose qualities in him, and he's great to watch right now. And
Hmm.
that team overall, they all looked good together. They have fun with John Moran. They remind me of like the Hornets of the West,
Yeah.
where they're just a young team with their one point guard star, and they just kind of run things through them and all that fun. And everybody's playing much better than you would have expected in that system.
Yeah, I agree. I that is a pretty interesting comparison because they're kind of on the same level at this point too. I
They're
mean,
like play-in caliber teams.
yeah, I mean Memphis made it last year, and Charlotte unfortunately didn't, but they are kind of the same level, ran by a star point guard with a bunch of potential, and then they got a bunch of role guys who are pretty decent.
Yeah. So this is my last one, my last like big headline that
Sure.
people overreact to. Devin Booker only had 12 points, and the Suns kind of got blown out by the Nuggets yesterday.
Yeah.
Are you-
Another case of getting his legs back, I think.
yeah, I agree.
Devin Booker's going to average 25, 27, some in that ballpark again, but yeah, just getting his legs back. I don't think and yeah, like you said, it's overreaction. I don't think it's anything too crazy.
I wouldn't overreact to any of this, pretty much anything we said yet, unless it's a player that, in a good way. I've had some good overreactions, but
Yeah,
I wouldn't overreact too much of star players playing bad. They're star players. They're going to be good.
yeah.
They've been good for years for a reason. It's
But
not like they're going to fall off.
it's okay that we're overreacting though. We're happy it's back.
Yeah,
We're happy for
exactly.
basketball. Overreacting is part of the fun and part of the game. So I have one more. Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards killed it for Minnesota. They both played really well.
D'Lo played good too.
Yeah, it's
That's
like, could you see Minnesota maybe making a run this year at the play-in or playoffs?
I think it really comes down to their stars. If they all have those good, like that good of a year as they did in that first game, then yeah, I could see it. Maybe making the play-in. That's about their ceiling is like 9 seed play-in, but they could be a fun team and maybe get there.
Yeah, and like you said, that's kind of the problem is the star play because yeah, they just beat up on a terrible Houston Rockets team, but listen to this. I just pulled it up. Karl Anthony Towns 30 points, Anthony Edwards 29, D'Lo 22. Their next highest scorer has 6 points,
Who was it?
Josh Okogie, and then it's 4, 3, 5, 5, 2, 2, 2, 2, 3. Like that is a large percentage of your points coming from the stars. And can they do that every game? I guess that's what we'll find out. I don't want to overreact too much to the Timberwolves, but I would like to see them win some games this year.
I was just thinking when I heard you say that, could you see them having 3 players average 20?
Yeah, 100%.
Which that's crazy. Not a lot of teams are going to do that.
No, I can't really think of teams that have had that other than the Warriors a couple of years ago.
And maybe the Nets, if Kyrie plays, will
Yeah,
do that.
I mean, technically they did, but they had a bunch of injuries last
They never
year.
all played together, so I don't know how you really
Yeah. I
do
mean,
that.
Kyrie Irving, his stats last year were 27 points a game on 50, 40, 90. Did you know that?
I didn't realize that.
50, 40, 90, 27 points a game. But,
They need Kyrie back.
yeah, I mean, you take that number with a grain of salt just because he didn't play that much, but that's still impressive. I want to see Kyrie back.
Yeah, I do.
And I do
too.
think he will.
I'm not sure how to feel about it.
I think that's my prediction. I don't have a way to really back up my prediction, but I do think he'll be back.
An interesting thing we could topic I saw like on Twitter the last few days is who's back first, Kyrie Irving or Ben Simmons? And that's just such a tough debate. I
Wow,
don't know who to pick there.
that's pretty funny because they're
Both
both
for their
out.
own
Yeah.
reasons
Well,
are out for indefinitely, you can say now.
yeah, and I'm glad you did bring up Ben because we should address the elephant in the room. He did apologize to Philly this morning. Philly apologized to him. They're trying to make amends. They're trying to make it work. But is the relationship too sour at this point to even try and bring it back, or do you go for it?
I think they have to go for
Yeah,
it because you can't move him yet. It's just
his trade value's terrible.
it's an awful situation, but you're gonna have to play him, and it might not work out well, but it's better than just letting him sit there and not do anything. And he's out for tonight's game against the Nets with he wasn't mentally prepared for it, which I understand.
Yeah,
After all the stuff that's going on, I wasn't expecting him to play tonight. I would have been shocked.
I'm not
if he did.
expecting him to play till a couple weeks from now, to be honest.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. Unless there's anything else you want to address, I say we talk about what's been going on around the league as far as the NBA's 75th anniversary team.
Yeah, I definitely wanted to talk about that. It's
It's pretty cool.
a cool concept that the NBA did. You
Yeah.
normally don't see leagues create their own list of the top 75 players.
Yeah.
But
Normally you leave that to ESPN, Bleacher Report, House of Highlights, and those guys. But
yeah.
for those of you who don't know, the NBA's 75th anniversary team is the NBA's been around for 75 years now. They took 75 players of all time, the top 75 players of all time, in their own opinion, and they put them all on that team.
Yeah, and just looking at the list, I was, of course, online reading comments. People are mad.
Yeah,
They're going to be mad no matter what.
they're gonna be, it could be their list, and they'd still get mad.
But there were some names that I saw people getting mad that weren't on the list that I kind of agree with, that they should be on it. I'm not saying over certain people, because on that NBA top 75 list, there's so many players I've never watched play.
Yeah, I was just about to say, it's not often nowadays where I'm looking at NBA stuff and I don't recognize the name. Like Bill Sharman, I don't know who that is.
He might have been a great
He
player.
might have been one of the greatest ever. I mean, apparently he is, but
I'm not going to go on here acting like I know who he
Yeah.
is, because we were not alive when he was playing.
we weren't alive for a lot of these guys. But it's kind of rare nowadays when I come across a player I don't know. So that was pretty cool. I know everyone else on this list pretty well, but let's talk about snubs.
Yeah,
Because
definitely.
there's definitely some. And my first snub would be Dwight Howard not being on this top 75 list. Like,
I
yeah,
agree
if
with
this
that.
expanded to 100, Dwight would be on it 100%. But I really think Dwight Howard got snubbed. He's a 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, multiple-time All-Star, obviously
Yeah.
first-team All-Defense many times, took his Orlando team to the chip, won a championship with LA. I don't know how he's not on this list. He's one of the highest in rebounds, blocks. He's getting up there in points.
I
pretty
think
crazy.
I think he definitely should have been on the list. That was the first name that stuck out to me for snubs. And I'd say that might be the biggest snub. There was one other player that I thought had a case as a bigger snub, but Dwight Howard should be on this list, especially, would you say he's over Dame? Dame made the list. That's just a current player that I'm looking at this a lot with comparing players to Dame, because I think he was the worst of the current players that made the list.
I disagree. I think the worst player that is current on this is Anthony Davis.
Oh, actually, yeah, Anthony Davis.
It's kind of hard to
They're
compare them.
similar.
Yeah, they're pretty similar, but I'm looking at it in perspective of who will Dwight replace. And I think Anthony
AD,
Davis,
yeah.
he's literally,
I'd take him
his
over
career
him.
is just a glorified Anthony Davis right now. You know what I mean?
He's done what Anthony Davis did for longer,
And what Anthony Davis hopes to accomplish, which is those 3 Defensive Player of the Years. Maybe get another ring. You know what I mean?
yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I would put him over Anthony Davis. It's a little early to put AD on.
And AD will very likely be on this list when his career
For
is said
sure,
and done.
definitely. Another player that stuck out to me, and I don't know how they didn't make it, just as players for their impact throughout the game, I'd say he's top 15 all time. Vince Carter didn't make the list.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, especially for what he did for Toronto and put that city on the map.
They might not have a team to this date if it wasn't for Vince Carter.
Yeah, I mean, you could say him, DeMar DeRozan, and Kyle Lowry, but Vince Carter is the highlight of Toronto. I really don't know how he's not on this.
Best dunker of all time. Just one of the.
For sure.
I just think of iconic figures in the NBA. He's one of the most iconic figures ever in the sport. And for how much he's done for the NBA to not be on this list, it's a little disappointing to me. I think Vince Carter definitely should be on it.
What is pretty cool to me is the youngest player on this list is Giannis.
That is pretty cool.
It's
And
pretty
I think
cool.
Giannis deserves to be on it.
Yeah, Giannis is going to finish kind of a bold take here. I think Giannis is going to be a top 10 player all time when he's wrapped up.
I could see it. I think Giannis gets another MVP.
I think so too. It might not be this year, it might not be next year, but I think he'll grab another one.
I think one more MVP and probably one more championship out of Giannis.
So, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, and my friend just texted in about it. He thinks T-Mac was snubbed from the list, but me and you both agreed we don't think so.
No, and I think if you're looking at the list as top 75 most talented players of all time, yeah, sure, T-Mac's definitely up there.
That's well put, because I agree.
But he doesn't have the accolades to make the list.
Yeah,
His career was cut short with injuries.
Never made it out of the first round.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Never made it out of the first round. Was a fun player, an amazing talent.
Yeah.
But
And can score the ball.
yeah,
He won a scoring title. Yeah, he did win a scoring title, but should be on this list. You could debate it, but if this was top 100, yeah, T-Mac should be here.
definitely.
But top 75, I don't think so. All these guys on this have won. They've all won.
yeah,
I haven't seen a name that hasn't won a championship other than obviously John Stockton, Karl Malone, those
Russell
guys.
Westbrook. Too.
Yeah, Westbrook. The guys who are like super, super, super elite. We already talked about Dame probably shouldn't be on this yet. But overall, these guys are winners on here.
Yeah, and I think if I were to find one common area that I think they based this list off, I would say it was probably winning.
Yeah, which kind of brings me to the Kyrie Irving case. Do you think Kyrie should be on it over Dame?
That's a close one. I mean, Kyrie won the championship. I think Dame's overall a better player, though. That's close. They're neck and neck for me. I gotta look deeper in with the stats for it and who has better accolades. I feel like they're really close on all of them.
What about Klay Thompson?
No, I wouldn't say Klay yet.
Yeah. I think if he played the last 2 years, he'd be on this.
Probably, yeah.
Because I do think, and I want to see it happen, Curry finishes one all-time, Klay finishes second in three-pointers made.
I could see that.
That'd be cool.
That'd be so cool. And I think they would hold it for a while, the two of them.
I think so as well.
I don't know if Klay gets up there. I mean, Curry's going to be one no matter what. I don't know if Klay will get up there.
The 2
though.
years really hurt him.
Yeah, missing those 2 years pretty much in his prime is going to really hurt him. And I don't know how he'll be returning. I miss Klay.
I miss Klay so much. I just miss seeing someone catch the ball and just launch it every time it touches their hands.
Yeah.
So entertaining.
It seems like it's been more than 2 years since I've seen Klay play. It feels like it's been forever, and I just miss him.
This is kind of interesting. I'm on Twitter here, and someone's arguing the case that Jokic should be on here over Lillard.
I guess their case is Jokic has an MVP. Lillard doesn't.
And it's kind of interesting because you can't hear that, but I think there's better candidates than Jokic. So
Definitely better candidates than Jokic.
I don't think he should be on here. It's so funny. It's so funny scrolling through this comment section because they're all posting like their favorite players that all aren't supposed to be on this list. Like I'm seeing Dwight Powell of all people.
That's funny.
Where's Ben Simmons? And then someone said, hopefully shooting free throws.
There can't be an NBA post without a Ben Simmons comment under it, just ripping him.
It's so terrible. I hate it so much.
The Sixers need to disable their comments on all posts.
They do for their own safety. Someone said Manu Ginobili.
Actually, that's an interesting one because one person I wrote down as a potential snub was Tony Parker. Yeah. I feel like one more player from the Spurs dynasty should be on it.
Yeah, I agree. They were one of the most successful dynasties that have ever gone through the NBA. I could hear someone else being on it. I mean, obviously you have Duncan. Obviously you have David Robinson.
And Kawhi.
Is Kawhi on this list?
Wait, I think Kawhi was. I gotta double check.
He
that
is. He
before I
is.
say it.
Wow, you're right. I didn't see his
And
name.
Kawhi deserves to be on it.
Yeah,
No
I agree.
doubt.
I agree.
So Tony Parker, what do you think on that? That one's close.
Yeah, if anyone from their dynasty had to be added, it would be Tony Parker.
He was the second best player after David Robinson left.
Yeah, and then maybe not with Kawhi. Kawhi may have stepped up to that second best player, but
I think their last championship and like the last few years they were a contender. Kawhi was the second best.
yeah. So here's another one. I don't know what your knowledge is like about him. I just got a text. What about Bernard King not being on this list?
I gotta look that up because I'm not like super informed on Bernard King, but
So from what I know and some stories I know on Bernard King is he like broke a bone in his body, like a crucial bone to like running, and he came out in the NBA Finals and played on it. And I don't know if they won that series. I want to say they did, but don't quote me on it. And he averaged like 40 points per game in the finals on like a broken leg or whatever.
that's crazy. I'm looking up his stats here. He had one season where he averaged 33 points.
Yeah, he could score the
Um,
ball.
Yeah, one looks like he's one of the best scorers ever. I'd say he probably didn't make it because he didn't have as much longevity. That would just be, I guess, the case why he didn't make it because it looked like he had a few seasons, like maybe 3 or 4 seasons, where he was one of the top scorers in the league. One season leading the NBA in scoring. And then a lot of injuries here, and it looks like he kind of fell off out of nowhere. I don't know, though.
Yeah, I just pulled up the story. So it was in the conference finals. He went crazy. What he averaged? Let me see. He averaged 34.5 in the finals,
Oh my
or in the
gosh.
conference finals rather. And yeah, scored the ball at will. His injury, I'm still trying to find. He got hurt in that series and then played through it and then missed his next following year because he played on that injury in the conference finals to try and lift the Knicks. That's a pretty cool story.
That's so cool. I can't think of any players doing that now.
No shot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he had a bunch of knee operations is what I'm seeing.
Yeah, maybe he deserves to make this list.
Yeah.
That's a good debate with him.
So what about, I've seen a lot of like Derrick Rose's.
Derrick Rose fans overrate him so much.
It's ruining Derrick Rose for me.
It ruins him for me
Ruining
too.
it. It's so annoying.
Nah, D Rose shouldn't be on this list.
No, he shouldn't. And yeah, he's got that MVP, but unfortunately for Derrick Rose, he was plagued with injuries. That's the summary of his career. We can appreciate he's the youngest MVP to ever do it, but that's a long time ago. That's 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
It's over. Derrick Rose is not that guy anymore. And yeah, he can be a great bench guy or even starting some games out in New York, but that 22-year-old that we saw is over. It's over. And they haven't accepted that.
That's crazy to think it was over 10 years ago or 10 years ago. What
Feels
you
like
said.
yesterday.
It does.
It just feels like yesterday.
I was going to bring it up somehow. I wasn't sure I was going to relate this, but like things that make you feel old as a basketball fan. I saw today Shaq hasn't played in the NBA in 11 years,
It's crazy.
which I remember Shaq playing.
Yeah, I remember him. The days where I saw Shaq was more so Boston.
That's what I was thinking of, Boston Shaq.
Unfortunately, that's the impression of Shaq that I got at
That was
first.
the overweight Shaq that didn't look like his old self.
So I'm kind of curious. For me and my friends, it seemed like the Celtics were the easiest team to like back then. Like, yeah, I always knew I'd be a Sixers fan. I loved LeBron James. My dad introduced me to LeBron probably when I was 7 or 8. I was like, oh man, I love LeBron. And then he went to Miami. My dad's like, uh-oh, you probably shouldn't like LeBron anymore.
Definitely.
And so I kind of enjoyed just watching that Boston Big Three. Those are like my earliest basketball memories.
I'm trying to think of mine. I feel like I never bandwagoned. In other sports, I would always bandwagon. Like as a little kid, I I
That's
liked
how it was
other
in football
teams.
all
Yeah.
day.
Oh, I would do that for football. I remember I used to be, for like a year, I thought the Packers were my favorite team because Aaron Rodgers was good back then. And
That's funny.
but for basketball, for me, I always just liked the Sixers. I feel like when I first started watching basketball, I wasn't like a full basketball fan. I was just a Sixers fan.
Mm.
And then a couple years later, I started to like basketball, and I was a little bit older, maybe like 10, when I started watching the whole league and following it all. So like my earliest memories, I remember Lou Will on the Sixers, and he
Yes.
was my favorite player.
I was just about to say that. So my first memories come from that Boston team, but that first Sixers team I got to watch with Drew Holiday, I guess it was the end of AI. I think it was Drew Holiday's rookie year. They had Lou Will. They had Kyle Korver. Trying to think time like Elton Brand.
Might have been,
Might have
yeah.
been right when we bring in Elton Brand. Elton Brand, if anything. Andre Iguodala. It was just such a fun team, and they weren't that good. Like, don't get me wrong, they weren't great, but
No, they weren't.
yeah, playoff caliber team, pretty exciting. You got Iggy who's jamming the ball. You got Corver who's developing into the elite shooter that we know of him later in his career. You got Lou Will, Sweet Lou, and yeah, Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday is still to this day, fun fact, my favorite shooting guard in basketball,
That's fair. I like
and I
that.
consider him a shooting guard still.
Yeah, he's been amazing for the past, gosh, over 10 years now.
Yeah,
Crazy to think he's a vet because he used to be the young guy, and
yeah,
growing up, he
the
was
young energetic dude. Or
yeah. Now he's one of the vets.
and then you look at Iggy. Iggy looks old. We were
He's
talking
so
about that.
old. Yeah.
He looks old, but he was balling
He had a good
against
game.
LA.
He fit in, was hitting some threes. Yeah, I liked what I saw out of Iggy. Maybe he'll get back somewhat close to his old role. A little bit less of it, though.
I just had my mom text. She's listening to the podcast, and she said that my football bandwagon costed my parents a lot of money on different jerseys around Christmas time.
That's funny.
That's probably randomest jersey I've ever owned is Eddie Royale.
That's really random.
Really random, right? That's bad. I regret ever liking that. I think I liked them in Madden. I just ran with it. But
It's kind of cool.
we got about 5 minutes here. I want to circle back one last time to the 75th anniversary team. Another snub was Grant Hill.
I saw that one too.
I just think the only reason why he was snubbed was his career had no length to it. He was just
No, it
always
didn't.
out. And Grant Hill was kind of like a new talent to the league. Like the way he played.
He would fit today a lot better than he did then.
You know what's kind of funny? The player I really imagine when I see Grant Hill, and he's not nearly as good as Grant Hill, never will be, but I see Nick Batum. The way Nick Batum plays was very Grant
Yeah.
Hill like, but not as quick as Grant Hill. Didn't have that crossover, didn't have that first step, didn't have the playmaking necessarily, but Nick Batum, I mean, he's that guy that'll put up 9 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. And that's just kind of like a watered down
I remember
Grant Hill.
one thing about Nick Batum. He was one of the only players. This was like 10 years ago. I remember seeing it, but he had a 5.555, like a. I
Yeah.
don't know what it was called. There was a term for it.
Yeah. A 5x5, right?
It might be that
I think it's the 5x5.
because there's like quadruple double, triple double. It was something like
Yeah.
that. But he had multiple games of that.
Yeah,
at
like the 5 major stats,
Yeah,
5 of each.
points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks.
Yeah.
And he had a few of those games. That's kind of cool. You don't see a lot of players do that.
You don't. And that kind of reminds me of Draymond Green missing out on the quad double because of points.
Yeah. I
Like,
think Dennis
how-
Rodman did that too.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I get Rodman.
crazy.
I guess I get Rodman because I've seen, stats
I'm
of Rodman.
Draymond. I'm trying to get that quadruple double.
Oh,
doing
I'm-
anything you can.
I'm doing whatever it takes to get those
Yeah.
last couple points because I think he finished with 7 or 8. He was like a bucket away.
Uh-huh.
I would have done whatever it takes.
No, that's funny. You don't see that a lot, but he should have tried and got it.
Last person to get quad dubs, I think
Hakeem.
Hakeem. Yeah, that's what I was
It's
gonna
been
say.
forever.
Yeah, it's been a long time.
Random thing, but if you were to predict one player today who gets a quadruple dub, who would it be?
I would say Giannis.
I was thinking Giannis too as the first player.
I would say Giannis, or I kind of want to go like with a big man like Embiid, because Embiid does have those games where he flashes playmaking. Like he'll have like 7 assists, but it'll be like quiet. But like I couldn't see Jokic because I couldn't see
He's not going to
Jokic
get the
blocking
blocks.
or steals. And Gobert's not nearly good enough of a playmaker. But so to answer that, I think it would be Giannis or even Draymond again.
Yeah, I could see either of those two. Probably Giannis is my first choice, but Draymond's a good take too. Definitely possible. So overall, with this 75th players list, I think they're normally like if Bleacher Report threw out this list, there would be so much more controversy. I think the NBA did a good job. It's kind of cool, and I like how they're promoting this 75th anniversary.
Yeah, I like it a lot. And I was asked which conference had the most represented players in the top 75.
Oh, interesting.
I think it's the East. I'm seeing a lot of Bulls, Knicks, Celtics. I think it's pretty well split, but I'm looking at these, and so I'm sure a lot of Lakers, obviously.
The Lakers might just carry the
But you
West.
got a lot of Bucks players like Robertson, Antetokounmpo, Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah,
I've and then you got Rodman, Pippen, Jordan.
we might have to get back to that,
Yeah, we might have
figure
to
it
get back
out,
to that, but I really do think it's the East off the top of my head.
and
Yeah.
then try and look at which teams had the most. Because my guess would be Lakers, but Celtics probably have a good case too. It's one of those two teams that have the most.
Yeah. All right, so we got to wrap it up here. This is the end of the podcast, episode 3. We're going to try to get the recordings out as soon as we can. I appreciate everyone for listening.